Like and subscribe, and you'll have amazing luck for the next week. It's crazy to think we are so interested in exploring the moon and Mars. However, one of our last, lesser investigated frontiers is in our oceans. It's been said that roughly 95% of the ocean remains unexplored by the human eye. Many people fear the ocean and the unknown that lies within it, and for good reasons. So let's jump right in and look at some of the terrifying ocean phenomena out there. Number 15. Man stuck at the bottom of the ocean for 3 days. You've probably heard stories of people living days in the desert, Arctic, and other uninhabitable terrains, but one that really sticks out is the man who survived 3 days at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean in a sunken ship without oxygen tanks, electricity, means of communication, or food. This happened back in 2013 to a ship cook named Harrison Okini, who was on a tugboat passing through the Atlantic along the coast of Nigeria. The tugboat was lugging a vessel behind it with oil tanks. That morning, a storm had begun, which made the waters rocky. In the wee hours, the water got especially choppy, and a huge wave formed which flipped the tugboat. The crew members were all in their chambers with the doors locked as a precaution, as the sea was known to be inhabited by pirates. Well, except one person, Harrison Okini, who was in the bathroom at the time. He heard the screams of his crewmates and knew at this moment that the boat was sinking and he had to figure something out. Okini felt his way through the dark boat to the engineering office that still had a pocket of air and figured it was the safest place to be, considering he was at a depth of 98 feet. And lucky for him, 60 hours later he was discovered by 3 South African divers who were employed to investigate the scene. They never expected to find anyone alive, so they were shocked to discover Okini. Upon finding him, they quickly fitted him with a diving helmet and assisted him in getting him back to the surface safely. Number 14. Underwater spring that could trigger a magnitude 9 earthquake or underwater volcano. In recent weeks, at the time of this recording, scientists from the University of Washington have discovered a leaking liquid coming up from the seabed of the Pacific Ocean. According to them, the liquid is trapped 2.5 miles underneath the floor of the ocean, and there the fluid acts as a lubricant for tectonic plates. If the liquid leaks from this space, that leaves the opportunity for the tectonic plates to grind harder together, and in doing so, trigger an earthquake. And without the fluid there to smooth things out, the earthquake could potentially be much worse. Some argue that this is actually a solution to another problem. These people say that the holes form to release the pressure of the steam, and if the steam is never released, this may unleash an underwater volcano, which furthermore could cause a tsunami. Both concepts sound utterly terrifying. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Number 13. Ring of bodies at the bottom of the ocean. Off the coast of Belize lies the world's biggest sinkhole known as the Great Blue Hole, which measures 1,000 feet across and 400 feet deep. Years ago, it formed as a limestone cave, but it sunk at some point and was submerged. It's been a popular diving site since the 1970s, but in December 2018, Richard Branson and his grandson funded an expedition to the bottom of the Great Blue Hole and went to explore the bottom of the chasm. As you go down into the sinkhole, you reach a point where there is no oxygen, and it's a common sight where divers go missing due to the lack of knowledge about the region. The exploration team noticed a series of weird things, and they ventured deeper, including some conch shells that looked nothing like what we are used to seeing. When they reached the bottom, they noticed very odd tracks in the sand. As they were unrecognizable, the team decided to leave them alone and not alter them. They also came across a series of caves, many of which were closed off. However, they did find one which spiked their curiosity. Inside, they found stalactites, which form from dripping water and the crystallization of minerals. So, at some point, this was above water, which further supports the idea of a limestone cave. They ventured deeper and deeper into the cave, where it grew quite dark. It was all going fine until they came across something that made their hearts stop. There, in the beams of their flashlights, was something that looked like a ring of mannequins. This not being a normal thing to see at the bottom of the ocean mean they were one of two things: statues or bodies. As the hole was infamous for divers going missing, the answer became clear to them quickly. Number 12. The Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle, which also goes by the name the Devil's Triangle, is a legend that is loosely assigned to a region of the western North Atlantic where over the years, more than 50 ships and 20 aircraft have vanished under very strange circumstances. The boundaries of this region are not usually agreed upon, however, most will agree that there is something very mysterious about this region. These unexplainable events date back to the mid-19th century when abandoned ships were found in the area. Events include ships that were abandoned for no clear reason, while other ships entered the region but never transmitted distress signals, and then they were never seen from or heard from again. Recorded rescue missions in the area have been unsuccessful, and those who have gone into the area in search of the wreckage are said to later be reported missing. Could this be due to supernatural causes or environmental factors? Number 11. The Mesopelagic Zone. You've probably heard the term Twilight Zone from either media, or maybe you've heard the expression entering the Twilight Zone, meaning the state of mind between reality and fantasy. However, in the ocean, the Twilight Zone, or the Mesopelagic Zone, refers to a layer of water about 600 to 3,300 feet below the water's surface where the sun doesn't shine. The Mesopelagic Zone has faint and low levels of light, meaning few organisms are able to survive down there. As you go further down, light, oxygen, and temp decrease. When it comes to the ocean, only 10% of it has been explored by technology, and a much smaller fraction has been studied by actual humans. When sonar technology became standard equipment on US Navy ships in 1942, the crew was flabbergasted by the phantom bottom they found, which is what we know as the Mesopelagic Zone today. Number 10. Plato's Lost City of Atlantis. The origins of the city of Atlantis trace back to an ancient Greek philosopher named Plato. Plato came up with the cave allegory, which we still talk about today. So many argue that Plato told the tale of Atlantis as an allegory, meaning as a story with a hidden meaning. In 360 BC, Plato spoke about the Atlanteans and the good life they had with their high standard of living. According to Plato, the people there were human, but also godlike. The city was believed to be an island off the coast of northwest Africa. According to the story, the large island sat at the mouth of the Strait of Gibraltar. The gods chose to destroy the inhabitants through a series of earthquakes to punish them for their immorality. Unfortunately, there is no physical evidence of the lost underwater city, but scholars and non-scholars alike continue to talk about the phenomenon, whether it actually existed, and what can be interpreted from Plato's allegory if it is indeed an allegory. Number 9. The discovery of the YONGUNI Monument. The YONGUNI Monument is a submerged rock formation off the coast of the Ryukyu Islands in Japan. It was first discovered in 1986 because it is a popular diving location because of the large number of hammerhead sharks in the region. According to many, the monument is a man-made stepped pyramid, but people question whether or not the structure is man-made or made by Mother Nature. Some of the rocks also reportedly have carvings. People believe it is more than 10,000 years old, and due to the mystery behind it, many informally call it Japan's Atlantis. But unlike the lost city of Atlantis, we have actually seen the YONGUNI Monument. Because of its proximity to the frequently visited diving spot, it's in a relatively shallow spot with the top only about 16 feet from the ocean's surface. Is this another failed utopia? Or is this a gift from Mother Nature herself? Number 8. Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is known as the deepest location on Earth, and it marks the boundary where the Pacific Plate, the oldest ocean floor on Earth, is subducted underneath the younger Mariana Plate. Due to its extreme depth, It's cloaked in endless darkness with temperatures reaching near freezing, and the pressure of the water is roughly 15,750 psi, which is 1,071 times what it is at sea level. Early discovery and information about the trench was found by the crew of the Challenger back in 1875. On March 23rd of that year, a crew was out between Guam and Panama where they recorded a sounding of 26,850 feet deep, which was later confirmed to be the southern portion of the Mariana Trench. That information was mind-blowing to scientists at the time. More modern soundings to 26,070 feet have since been found near the original site. The Challenger's discovery was key in expanding oceanographic knowledge about the ocean's depth. The trench has fueled much fiction as to what kind of creatures could be lurking in the shadows down there. And, fun fact, in 2009, President George W. Bush signed an act to name it as a national monument. And, well, this is one national monument people will likely never visit. Number 7. The anglerfish. Earlier, we discussed the mesopelagic zone, or the twilight zone. But if you go deeper, you will find the home of the anglerfish, in the depths called the bathypelagic zone, or informally, the midnight zone. To get there, you have to go roughly a mile underground. In fact, scientists have hardly ever seen one alive in their natural habitat. Most of what we know about these fish comes from ones that have passed and have been pulled up to the surface in nets. Their appearance is rather distinct though, with a bucket-sized mouth, razor-sharp teeth, and a lure attached to its head that looks like a tiny lantern that attracts prey to their doom. Just seeing one is nightmare fuel for some. It's crazy to think there are creatures like anglerfish that we have never seen, especially not in their habitat. It really makes you wonder what else is down there living in the ocean's depths. Number 6. The USS Samuel B. Roberts Shipwreck. If you have not heard of the USS Samuel B. Roberts, it was a ship that went down during the Battle of Samar in the Philippine Sea back in October 1944. Today, the Navy considers the site to be a hallowed war grave, and the location is also known to be the world's deepest shipwreck, with pieces found at a depth of 22,600 feet, according to the American explorer Victor Vescovo. Roberts sunk in a battle where a force of U.S. warships prevented a superior Imperial Japanese naval force from attacking the amphibious invasion fleet off the island of Leyte. According to Naval History and Heritage Command Director Samuel Cox, the USS Samuel B. Roberts was lost in one of the valiant actions in the history of the U.S. Navy. Today, the site serves as a reminder to Americans of the cost of freedom made available by previous generations, and something that should not be taken for granted. One of the most interesting things about the underwater graveyard is that it was discovered 78 years after she went down, in June 2022. Victor Vescovo was out in some of the deepest depths of the Philippine Sea exploring when he found the wreck resting on a slope, broken into two pieces. There is so much ocean that is yet to be explored that it's a miracle that Vescovo came across the USS Samuel B. Roberts. Since the recent discovery of the wreck, the event has sparked curiosity in others about what else is lying on the ocean floor waiting to be discovered. Number 5. The BLOOP, aka Loudest Underwater Sound. Back in 1997, the noise known as the BLOOP was heard by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and the event has bewildered scientists and researchers for years. The sound was detected via several hydrophone arrays in a very remote portion of the Pacific Ocean off the south coast of South America. The seismic activity was unlike anything they had ever heard before. NOAA described the noise as a sound rising in frequency for the course of about 1 minute and was loud enough to be heard from over 3,000 miles from its origin. The noise was massive. To build a mental picture, say the noise originated in the central United States of America, then the noise could be heard from the northern tip of Canada as well as the country of Colombia down south. That is insane! Researchers believed the sound wasn't man-made, nor an event such as a volcano or earthquake. The chief researcher of NOAA, Dr. Christopher Fox, believed the audio profile resembles a large living creature. However, this assumption doesn't make sense as the amplitude of the noise far exceeded the capabilities of any animal we are aware of on Earth. To this day, researchers continue to question the mysterious noise. Some think maybe it was ice calving near Antarctica. However, the concept is only accepted by some of the scientific community. Number 4. The Ghost Ship, KAZ-2. The KAZ-2, or the Ghost Yacht, was found drifting about 88 miles from northeast Australia back on April 20th, 2007. The KAZ-2 had a crew of 3 men who were relatively inexperienced sailors. According to authorities, the catamaran left Airlie Beach on April 15, 2007, and the first sign of an issue came to attention on April 18th when a helicopter was flying over the area and saw the KAZ-2 adrift near the Great Barrier Reef. By the time authorities were informed and were able to check it out for themselves, they found the crew missing and the whole situation felt eerie. The environment on the boat was set up in a way as if they were still on board, with food and silverware on the table. A computer was found set up and turned on as the catamaran's engine was on and running. One thing that was strange was that authorities were unable to find a life raft on board. However, it's unknown whether the KAZ-2 had one on board or not. People have various hypotheses about what happened to the crew, and unfortunately, we never really will be certain. Number 3. Baltic Sea Anomaly. Treasure hunters first found the strangely shaped object back in June of 2011, and it's been puzzling people ever since. The object vaguely looks like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, and researchers and conspiracy theorists have all sorts of ideas of what it could be, ranging from a sunken UFO, a Russian spaceship, or even the remains of a lost sunken city. The Baltic Sea Anomaly has remained a mystery for years, but those who argue it could be a UFO believe they can justify it. Leading up to the object on the seafloor, there is 1,600 feet of track leading to the object. Volker Bruchert, an associate professor of geology at Stockholm University, investigated the material and found a great black dome that could be volcanic rock. His hypothesis is that the structure was formed during the Ice Age. The region was heavily influenced by the glacial thawing process, so it is believed that there is a connection between that and the object. Number 2. The Jacuzzi of Despair. Up next, we have a deadly lake within the Gulf of Mexico that kills almost anything that enters it. The underwater brine pool, which also goes by the names the Jacuzzi of Despair or the Hot Tub of Despair, is a pool full of methane, making the toxic pocket of water deadly to anything that mistakenly swims through it. However, it's quite difficult to get there as it's nearly 3,300 feet below the surface and nearly a day's boat ride off the coast of New Orleans. To learn more about it, scientists have had to use robotic submarines in order to get an understanding of the life that lives there. Scientists have known about brine pools for over 30 years, but this is one of the most interesting ones they have found. The brine down there is so dense that a submarine can land on it. Researchers have said that it's very disorienting to go down there and land on a pool at the bottom of the ocean. It's believed that brine pools like this one took millions of years to form. It started when the shallow ocean water of the Gulf of Mexico evaporated and formed salt layers during the Jurassic era, some of these layers being up to 5 miles thick. Over many years, these layers became buried, and under the weight of sediments, the salt layers shifted and cracked, allowing oil, gas, and brine to escape, thus forming pools like this. Number 1. The Julia Sound. Back in 1999, NOAA hydrophones picked up a sound so incredibly loud that it was heard all over the Pacific region. It now goes by the name Julia, as the noise recorded vaguely sounds like the name. Here, let's take a listen. Some people argue that since it's believed that we have only explored 5% of the ocean, there may be creatures and things we are not aware of and have yet to discover. There are conspiracy theorists out there that have coined the name the Julius Sea Monster as the source of the sound and believe there is a huge marine animal out there capable of making the noise they heard. This is one of many theories. Scientists, however, have their own hypotheses about what Julia could be. Noah believes the sound was likely from an iceberg that had run aground off Antarctica or an icequake. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more content just like this.